So I would like to officially call to order this meeting of the Greenfield Conservation Commission on January 14th, 2025 at 6:50 p.m. This meeting is being held in a hybrid format. Should, as Kristen mentioned earlier, any technical interruption to the meeting occur and the meeting is suddenly ended, it will not be resumed and all items will automatically be continued to the next scheduled meeting date. This meeting is being recorded by the Conservation Commission. If any other persons present are doing the same, you must notify the chairperson at this time. Current on Community Center include myself, Elizabeth Garofalo, the chair. Via Zoom, we have Kristen, vice chair, Erica, and Emily. Also here with us this evening in the John Zahn Center is Jessica, our conservation agent. And with that, our first item on the agenda is approval of minutes from last meeting.
Do you want to do roll
Can I get
call?
a motion?
Roll call first. Call to order, roll call.
Second?
Sorry, can you hear me, Liz?
Yes, I can now.
Do we have to do a roll call of attendance for commission members?
She did just say whoever was there.
You don't have to physically say.
We haven't in the past, but we can do that just to make sure we've got our T's crossed, if you would prefer. Again, I defer to you, having been on the commission longer than I have.
I don't remember, honestly.
That's fair. So in that case, are you comfortable with just proceeding to the minutes, to approving the minutes?
Yeah, everyone that Liz just mentioned is present.
A motion to, are you all reviewing the minutes from last meeting?
Yeah, I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes from what
I'll second.
the 10th of December.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a couple of, well, Kristen's checking still. Just clerical things that the very first part says Kristen called the meeting to order at 6:31, but then the next sentence says that Kristen was late and arrived at 6:40.
Oh,
So,
I'll fix that.
We'll get that sorted out.
Oh, I think I did join. I had a Hadley meeting the same night.
yeah, but it said that you started it at 6:31 and arrived at 6:40.
Hmm. Let me just look at my calendar really quick. Meeting that night. Maybe I did start the meeting and that was a legacy kind of typo from the last meeting, because I did have a meeting with Hadley at some point, but I don't think I had it on the 10th. I can't remember.
I can double check my notes and update it. I think that it was a carryover from the previous minutes.
Thanks, Jessica. Where am I? Thanks, Erica, for pointing that out.
Does the Conservation Commission see any need for any other further amendments to the meeting minutes from our last meeting?
Not seeing anything.
No. Okay, so we have a motion from Kristen and a second from Emily. So let's go ahead and take a vote. Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Let's jump into our next agenda item, and that is our public hearing. Request for determination of applicability, construction of 2 prefabricated metal buildings and parking at 001 Adams Road, map R05, lot 28A. The proposed work consists of the construction of 2 prefabricated buildings with slab on grade foundation and parking for 12 cars. The work will be separated into 2 phases, with the second building comprising phase 2 as an addition, and only constructed should phase 1 prove financially successful. do we have folks here representing this project?
There's two that are in attendance. It's Echo U and Noberto Leon. And I can draw up the plans. And we also did a site visit.
Great. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
Are we waiting for an applicant to present?
We're trying to pull up the plans.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Okay, thank you once again for your patience. Noberto, if you would like to walk us through this project, that would be wonderful.
Sure. Great. Thank you. My name is Norberto Leon, and I'm the architect for the project. And so, yes, we are asking for a determination of applicability for this project. And right now, my client is in the process of uh, purchasing this property. So we haven't done any kind of surveys or anything like that to determine where the wetlands are or anything like that. So we relied on the information that has been given to us by the seller at this point. And one of the items is this site plan. But as you can see, there's no wetlands information. It's just property boundaries information. So I highlighted in red the lot, and so it's right there in the center, and then it's on the left side is Route 2, and then we have Adams Road, the old Adams Road, and the new Adams Road, basically creating a kind of like a triangular shaped site. And on the left side, closest to Route 2, is where there appears to be some wetlands and a stream. If we can move on to the next slide. So this is information from the Mass GIS, and Route 2 here is now at the bottom of each one of these views. On the left is the aerial view, and on the right is the topographic and site characteristic information. So as you can see on the bottom, there appears to be some wetlands, and there's that stream, and we are proposing to build on the opposite side, towards the on the more pointy side of the lot, on the north side, basically. And let's take a look at the next slide. And I try to make sense of taking the existing site plan that we have and the Mass GIS information to try to figure out where the wetlands are and where the stream is approximately. And what you're seeing here is a diagram that shows you in red the actual survey information that we have. And then in a yellow boundary is the Mass GIS information. So as you can see, they're not in sync. So determining where exactly the wetlands are on the stream is a little bit difficult, but we've tried to like take an educated guess. It looks like most of the wetlands is outside of our property, and it looks like a small part of the stream basically clips the south of the property. So if we could move on to the next slide. So this is our best guess of where things are. And you can see the proposed structure is on the north side, opposite side of where the wetlands is on the south side of the property. And we've illustrated the 25-foot setback and 100-foot setback. And the first proposed structure it looks like it's outside of that 100-foot boundary. And then we're proposing parking spaces for 12 cars. Some of it is pervious surface and some of it is pervious surface. This structure is going to be a prefabricated building, single story, slab on grade, nothing too complex in terms of the foundations, and trying to basically do as minimal a work on the site as possible. There is some clearing that is going to have to happen. There are several trees on the site. And once we, purchase the property and do a survey, we'll get that information on the trees. But most of the clearing will happen on the north side of the site so that we can get the parking and the building in there. And we don't plan to do anything on the south side, closest to the wetlands. You can't see this by this diagram, but there is on the south side, closest to the wetlands, there's a very kind of like a steep drop in the topography, maybe about 20 feet or so, that basically starts maybe around the 25-foot setback or somewhere between the 25-foot and the 100-foot setback. So it's when you're out in the site, it's very clear, where the wetlands boundary is, and it's that steep drop in the topography. The next plan you don't have to show it. It's just a diagram showing the proposed building, the interior. But for the purposes of this conversation, I think we just can stay on this illustration here. So that's it for me. I welcome any questions, comments. Echo, is there anything that you'd like to say?
I think Norberto, you pretty much covered it. I think right now we're not sort of in the process of purchasing the property. We're sort of before that. We're trying to determine if there is enough space for us to build what we are hoping to build. And then hence why we're here. And then once we reach a determination, that's kind of when we make the decision to move forward with the purchase or not. And that's kind of why we decided to not invest like so much on a plot plan with the wetland scientists and whatnot, because we don't know if we are able to move forward with the project or not without, essentially approval from the Conservation Commission. Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that, Echo, because I did just want to point out the stream there. So two comments from me. One is the phase 2 addition. If that's within, so first of all, the DEP wetlands from Mass GIS is just an estimated wetlands data layer. It's not accurate. It's usually really underestimated. So if you were anywhere within 100 feet, you would definitely want to do a wetland delineation. But also the city ordinance has a wetlands protection bylaw that requires a 200-foot riverfront setback for streams, including intermittent streams. So if there is an actual stream there, you would be looking at a 200-foot riverfront as well. Under the ordinance, not under the state, but under the local.
Yeah, I think with a 200 feet setback, as you can see, the 100 feet setback is already pretty much half of the parcel of the entire property. So if we have to build with 200 feet, um, I just think when Jessica and I visited, and Norberto was there too, the parcel itself is pretty small. I just think if we were to follow that 200 feet, we practically don't have any surface area to build on or to really utilize that land at all.
Well, it's
for
not
what-
it's not a no build. There are performance standards, and as long as you can meet those performance standards, then you can develop within them. But yeah.
Okay, good to know.
Are there any guidelines for what those performance standards are, or are those determined once we go to the next hearing? Uh, and you guys see where things are exactly in terms of, a survey actually gets done.
Yeah, Norberto, I'm not gonna lie to you. The performance standards for developing in riverfront area are really complicated, and our ordinance pretty much says whatever the Wetlands Protection Act, the State Wetlands Protection Act says for their perennial streams is what our city ordinance is going to mimic for intermittent streams. And that's under Wetlands Protection Act 10.58, and it's 5 pages long. It's the busiest section of the whole State Wetlands Protection Act. I would suggest hiring a wetland consultant to help you navigate that. It's complicated.
Jessica, did you have any pictures from the site
Yes,
visit?
let's look at those. I took a camera out and it was really cold, and halfway through, I think the battery froze. And so I apologize if there's kind of repeats, because then I used my phone after that. But basically what you're gonna find is this lot is really thick with like bramble and kind of that dog hair thick.
Looks like
growth.
invasive species.
Yeah, there's
It
a
looks
ton
like
of invasives. There's
total caca.
definitely, bittersweet strain
Yeah.
in the trees. So one of the things that I noticed in the aerial photo was there happened to be almost like a bald patch um, in the center of the lot, and I didn't know if maybe that was another wetland that wasn't marked on Mass GIS data. And I hiked in, and it's basically like a briar patch. And that's kind of, we can look at the overhead aerial photo later, but that's what you're seeing right now is it's really low lying understory kind of thing. There's no big trees. It's just like a thicket. And
Is that
so
the
this
stream?
is where I think I'm a little bit into the woods, but from the side of the road, from what road is that?
That's 2.
We're on Adams Road looking,
That's Route 2 over there.
yeah,
Yeah.
like southeast, yeah,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
could see
two in the distance.
the stream running through the middle of the picture there.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
that's the stream. If you go more,
There's
yeah,
2 over here.
it's like almost hard to like really see the water. But that's the stream again in the wetlands to the left. And keep going. So I just like pivoted a little. So that's the wetland, that low-lying light brown. And then you can see what Norberto was referring to is that the hill kind of sharp, there's a sharp kind of delineation between the flat, what maybe is like the floodplain of the stream, and then it's like hillside immediately.
There, you can see that there.
Oh, yeah. You can see the wetland veg, those Bidens right there on the left, right at that topo break.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's just still like the wetland zone.
Route 2.
Yeah, Route 2. This is where I think some of the repeats here. So this is just kind of like to give a feel for what the woods is like, in like the bulk of the property, to the north of the Bramble.
So is this the area they want to,
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
that last one.
That's the north end looking down south. Wait, if you go back,
It's
that's the
not
north
too,
end
I think
looking south towards
this
Route
is
2.
central, and then, yeah, the photo we just looked at was if we're on Adams Road, not Old Adams Road,
That's the
looking
light on Route
south
2 and
towards,
yeah, and Adams, gotcha.
and then this is the north corner, like kind of the peak of the triangle. Okay, so I think this is where I go to, now I'm on the camera, but, this is, I'm standing on Old Adams Road, looking towards Adams Road. And there's just like this slight incline to get into the lot. But yeah, it's really thick. I mean, really thick with vegetation. It was very hard to even enter the lot to get any photos. Okay, so this is the end of Old Adams Road. It kind of dead ends, even though the map on the plans make it seem like a connected triangle of roads. It's Old Adams Road ends with this guardrail, and then that creek runs on the other side, but like not just on the other side, it's very close to Route 2.
It kind of looks like the topography slopes up to the right or to the east. I'm assuming you're facing north, right?
No, I'm at the end of Old Adams Road, so I'm
Oh, you're
facing
facing south.
south at this point.
Where's the stream in this? I'm confused because it looks
No,
like there's a slope
the
on the right side.
stream
of
is
the
like
road.
way on the other side of that guardrail. You can kind of
Oh.
in the distance, there's like a road kind of parallel to the guardrail. I don't know if you see that, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
that's Route 2.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. That's just another shot looking up Old Adams Road. Okay, so I'm on Old Adams Road. I'm just like looking in the woods, trying my best to get like some sort of photo. Um, okay, there happened to be this white pine that you can see in the distance, and on the aerial photo, I just kind of felt like that might have been the southern end of their plans.
Yeah, when you were talking about seeing like a dark spot on the aerial, it does look like an eastern white pine.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's like a bald spot near it. That's the bramble, whatever it is,
Gotcha. Okay.
blackberry, I don't know.
More.
Bittersweet.
Yeah, so this is basically it for the photos. Just, you enter the property, you have to go up slope a little bit. Yeah, there's a little berm, but not so much of a berm off Adams Road, just on Old Adams Road.
That's everything.
Mhm. And I did do, if you go back to the main folder, there's the ArcMap screenshot. So you see that bald spot in the middle that looks sort of like a meadow? That's the bramble, and you can kind of see the white pine
Mhm.
there. Yeah, so I feel like this phase 2 probably dips into that bramble.
Mhm.
So are we looking for a determination this evening, or are you just looking to kind of gauge the commission's mood on how this would be permittable, given the ordinance and the resource areas?
I think both, if possible. Of course, like, we want to show our faces, present our project, see what you guys' feedbacks are. Because like under what permissible condition can the project move forward? But also if we can also reach a decision of some sort, that will be very helpful in helping us decide and coordinate on our end how to, what if there are next steps and what they would be. Yeah.
Did you officially file an RDA?
Yes, I did.
So if we issued you a positive determination, that would require a notice of intent, and that would probably. I mean, can we even issue a negative under if it's in jurisdiction, if it's in our local jurisdiction, or would it be? I don't know. I guess let me back up. I feel like, in my opinion, phase one could maybe fall under a negative determination, but not phase two, because it's in 100 foot, and we would want to see a delineation under the Wetlands Protection Act, but under the ordinance, it would be a positive determination, in my opinion, because it's in 200-foot riverfront for intermittent stream.
That sounds right to me as well.
So do you applicants wanna, I don't know, like, having a positive determination is not great because, I don't know, do you wanna, I guess, I don't wanna tell you what to do, but you could either continue with your RDA and we could issue a partial negative determination under the, just for phase one, under the Wetlands Protection Act, and then a positive determination under the local ordinance, or you could just maybe rescind it and file a notice of intent.
I guess it's my first time sort of working with wetlands and protection like this, so I don't fully understand what the implications are for a positive or a negative.
A positive is basically you have to refile something different. You have to file a notice of intent. A negative means, it sounds anti-intuitive, but a negative determination is a good thing and a positive determination is a bad thing,
Okay.
if that makes sense.
And then I guess I have one follow-up question. With that 200 feet setback from the riverfront, wouldn't phase one then also technically fall into that 200 feet then? So I guess how does that work?
So we have to file a permit determination under both the state regulations and also the local regulations. And
Okay.
they're not the same. So you might get a negative determination, which is good under, just for phase one, under the state regulations, but a positive determination, which is bad under the local regulations. You would still have to file a notice of intent. So I just was wondering if maybe what you would want to think about is just, instead of paying all the filing fees, if it's not too late, I don't even know if it is too late, but I don't know. I defer to Jessica on how to deal with all the filing fees, but.
So one question that I do have, so my understanding is that you currently do not own the property. Can they file an NOI if they do not own the property?
If they have the if the applicant has the owner's permission, I think they can. The owner has to sign the NOI form, though. They can't, file it on behalf of the owner without the owner's authorization.
And given that both phases would fall into the 200-foot zone for the local ordinance, ask this question, I think, is to the applicant. Do you want to potentially have a better understanding of what those requirements for proceeding with building are before you go any further down this particular path? So given that's the case, Kristen, you mentioned potentially rescinding a request for determination? Was that what
Yeah,
I?
so I think RDAs don't go to DEP. There's no fee under the state. I don't know if we have a local fee, but NOIs are substantially more expensive and require butters notifications and, you know, all that stuff. So, and like I said, the 200-foot riverfront performance standards are complicated, so it's not a deal breaker. I don't want to scare you guys off. It's totally doable. You just have to demonstrate compliance with those performance standards, and it's complicated. So you probably want to hire somebody who understands that.
But I think, I think my question is, does the applicant want to proceed with further paperwork, if you will, with the commission, or get a little bit more information on what you need to do before you proceed to the point of NOI? So given all of that information, do you?
Also, like, we need to find out. Sounds like we need to find out a little bit more what that, those additional regulations would be before. Yeah. Because it's, like you guys said, it's complicated. And we are within the 200 foot setback of the stream, so I
And
would say give us a little bit of time to think about it and take a look at what those regulations are and talk to somebody.
I was gonna suggest, I don't know if it makes any difference, maybe just submitting just your phase one and not even putting phase 2 on right now, and, you know, might be easier to get that through. I don't
There is
know.
anti-segmentation.
Yeah, it just sounds like we're gonna fall within that 200 foot boundary.
Right.
There is also an anti-segmentation clause, so if you know you're definitely going to do phase 2, it's better to show that up front because you will get spanked for it later if you don't.
Okay. Sorry, I don't think that's Kristen's area. I don't know.
So it sounds to me like there's one of two directions that we can go in, and I would ask the applicant to determine which one seems the most appealing to you. Is, I think, the rescinding of the RDA. Or Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, we could also table this for now and put it to our next meeting. And at that point, you would have had the opportunity, the applicant would have had that opportunity to do some more research and understand exactly what it is that they're going to need to do as it relates to that 200-foot buffer zone. And so I think the choice of that would be up to the applicant. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think that you're right, Liz. So I think that you can either withdraw your application or we can continue this till the next meeting and you can think about it, but you do have the opportunity to withdraw it if you want.
Does that decision have to be made right now, or can we talk a little bit right now
Yeah, we
after
can
the meeting?
continue.
And
Yeah, I think
Okay.
Liz is,
Yeah.
we can.
We
continue.
can continue this to our next scheduled meeting, and then you come back with your decision then. Which would be.
Okay.
Give me, let's see, with the 28th of January.
All right.
So are we looking, is that what you want to do? Continue?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So we're looking for a motion to continue to January 28th. If that's what Norberto Echo, that's what you want, I'll motion to continue the request for determination of applicability for construction of 2 prefabricated metal buildings and parking at number 1 Adams Road, map R05, lot 28A to January 28th, Conservation Commission hearing.
Second.
Great, so we've had a motion and seconded. Let's go ahead and vote. Emily?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
I'm also an aye. So we will see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Okay.
Zooming in.
Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is a public hearing continued from December 10th, 2024. Notice of intent, maintenance of roadways and drainage systems on I-91 routes 2510, DEP number 168-0363. This Massachusetts Department of Transportation project proposes routine maintenance of existing roadways, including widening less than a single lane, adding shoulders, correcting substandard intersections, improving existing drainage systems, and repaving.
Okay, the updated draft conditions are in the G Drive and I'm going to try to bring it up. Yeah, that's right here. Then when I go to Zoom,
Yeah, which one is it? Like, I can share it.
and then, oh yeah.
Which one?
go to- yeah.
Okay.
You want me to do anything or share on my end?
No, there it is.
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you. Got it.
okay. So this is basically the finalized draft conditions. There's just a couple things I would like some input on because I'm unfamiliar with the topic. So has the commission had an opportunity to read these?
Yes, I have a global question. So, typically bundled notices of intent are for routine operation and maintenance, not for expansion of existing roads. But I was just curious if DEP had any comment on that.
The comments that I've seen from Mark Stinson are the ones that you've seen from him. From your first draft.
Okay.
And it seemed like him and Billy were kind of worked a bit on this because
Okay.
when the baton got passed to me and I had a meeting with the two of them, he said that he's basically like done advising on it, like he's given his input and everything that's there, like he's commented on, and like that was kind of the end of his involvement. So I don't want to assume, but I would have thought that he would have made it clear he didn't think it should go in if he didn't think it should go in. You know,
I just want to just for the record, for the commissioners, just point out that a lot of what these, and this is a long document, but a lot of what this is like routine operation and maintenance. But the expansion of an existing, or the widening of an existing roadway to less than a single lane, adding shoulders and correcting substandard intersections. This, if we all agree, that would be covered under this blanket NOI. And they wouldn't come before the commission necessarily with a new permit application.
Do you know offhand, Kristen, anywhere or anyone on the commission who has had a chance to review this? Is there anywhere in here that says that there are certain conditions or stipulations which must be met in order for such a sweeping project to be undertaken without coming before the commission?
Yeah, so DOT asked for there to have one of their appointed specialists, wetland specialists on site to oversee the construction. But, you know, this is not exempt work. There are exemptions for roadway widening, but that's more than what the exemption is. But we can go through that. I just wanted to just point that out. And that was one of my comments in one of the original drafts. I thought that was a big ask. But nobody came back and said anything, so that was just my one comment.
I don't disagree with you. I find that a little concerning as well.
And I've done bundled NOIs before, and it's usually for general operation and maintenance. So things like filling potholes, if you have like rilling and gullying in an access road that's within jurisdiction, you can just fix it with just a notice to the commission. Clearing out culverts that are clogged, as long as that's in compliance with other rules and regulations. Replacing riprap or broken head walls of culverts, but not replacing culverts, that kind of stuff. It's just routine operation and maintenance. Even invasive species management, as long as there's some kind of notice to the commission, and there's different categories you can see where there's some categories of O&M that doesn't require notice, some that does require notice, some that requires review by the agent and or Concom, and some that's gonna require a whole new permit. But that was the one thing that I was just kind of a little surprised about, that they were proposing to expand roads.
How did the other
Wait.
conservation?
Kristen, do you know exactly where you saw that, where you?
Yeah, so that was in their NOI application. That was what they were asking for.
Oh, okay. Okay, because in what Jessica's written out, it says that doesn't fall under, the widening of roadways is not routine O&M.
If it's more than what does it say? If it's more than the width
A
of a
single
single
Greater
lane?
than a single lane.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, great, okay, yeah.
But that language appears to suggest that the
Right.
addition of a whole full lane of road would fall under this blanket NOI.
Right. Okay,
And I think, Kristen, that's sort of
so,
the
yeah.
concern that you're bringing up.
Yeah, like if it's in riverfront, I mean, then they wouldn't have to do any mitigation or compensatory storage if it's in bordering land subject to flood. They wouldn't, you know what I mean? I just, and plus this is being used as an example for the rest of the state. So we want to make sure we get this really right. So I don't know, that was just my only comment from the very start, that, but if Mark's okay with it, if DEP is okay with it, I guess we don't really have much to say unless it conflicts with our bylaw, which we still have. Mark will never comment on our bylaw and how we implement our bylaw. He will only comment on the Wetlands Protection Act. So we still have room to opine on the bylaw, but that was my only comment just upfront.
I think Billy mentioned that they're not upheld to the bylaw because they're a state agency.
That's right. Yep, you're right. So are we going through this whole document tonight?
The goal was to vote on it tonight. There's a couple things that need tweaking, but it could just be a matter of, getting your input and then voting on that, like if I change that section, we would vote, or you guys would vote in favor. It's a long document.
Mhm.
It has, yeah, it's long.
So it seems, and Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, but this seems like a fairly significant contention about this document.
I don't know if there's contention. I think DEP and DOT have been working together for a while I want to say it was DEP's suggestion that Mass DOT do this. The intent of doing a bundled notice of intent is to streamline business between Mass DOT and the commission. So they don't have to come before us for every little thing that they want to do, that their special conditions will outline exactly what they need for routine operation and maintenance. So, you know, they're not coming before us 5 times a year, 10 times a year, or whatever. That they have a very clear outline of what they need to do to satisfy, I guess, just the state regulations for their routine O&M. So that's kind of the intention. And, you know, I've done these types of things on college campuses for, you know, towns can do bundled NOIs, but it's usually routine O&M. And it's just in their jurisdiction. So whatever they want to do that's not in our jurisdiction is not our business. It's just routine O&M within our jurisdiction.
So if you scroll down to page, next page, this is where really the conditions start. And there's overall conditions, and then there's conditions kind of by category, as they separated out the different activities into those 4 categories.
And so where would we find, I guess my question is, does something to the magnitude of expanding
The
Oh,
road.
the road, which type of category would that fall in?
another
Yeah.
Because if
question.
that falls into something that would ask one of those higher numbered categories,
Yeah.
I feel like personally, anything that requires engineering plans requires a separate NOI. That's my opinion. So if like you need a new culvert, that shouldn't fall under a blanket O&M NOI. That should be a new NOI. So anything that requires engineering, like, I don't know, a new roundabout, or how was that worded in there in that top sentence? Like road widening or insufficient roundabouts or traffic circles or whatever it said. I just feel like anything that requires new engineering plan should be a new permit. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Mhm.
And my first crack at drafting these, I thought I kind of excluded that request from DOT, but I don't know what happened in the DEP DOT revisions. If DEP is cool with it, I don't know what more we can really do. That was just my first thought. So category 1 is our activities not requiring notification to the commission. So that's basically exempt stuff. Category 2, activities requiring advance notice to the commission. So that would be, they would be sending us, the agent or whoever, an email before the work happens. Category 3, activities requiring advance notification to the Concom and an on-site Mass DOT District 2 environmental representative during the work. So that would be some of that work that we were talking about involving like culvert cleanouts. I think that would fall under category 3, where they would have a Mass DOT specialist to make sure that they didn't create soil migration and turbid water runoff or something. And then category 4, and I was really confused about this, and I kind of just like didn't touch this. This was emergency storm repairs, and I talked to Mark about this, and I thought, wouldn't that just fall under emergency certs and not under this blanket NOI? But somehow it's
That was
still
kind of my
in here.
question.
Yeah, I don't know why that's still in there. I recommended to Mark that we take that out and just emergency certs should be emergency certs. They shouldn't fall under an NOI, but
Right.
I don't know what Billy
I-
and Mark talked about.
I took another stab at that section because it's confusing, and I revisited the NOI that they submitted, and in the emergency section, they had, here, I'm just gonna scroll to it real fast on my end.
Which page is it?
They had emergency storm repairs, and they kind of divided it into roadway embankment washout and drainage system embankment washout. And so in the conditions, if you want to scroll in the conditions kind of all the way, just go all the way to the end. Yeah, there we go. And then scroll up a tad. So this first one, for category 4, I said any emergency storm repair that does not fall under roadway embankment washout and I forgot a quotation, drainage system embankment washout will require an emergency certification, does not qualify under this BNOI.
Gotcha.
And then this highlighted thing, Kristen, was what you had written, and I just didn't know. Because I think you like copied and pasted verbiage from the NOI.
Yeah, and I wasn't happy with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to delete it, but I also felt like it needed work,
Yeah.
wordy.
Mhm.
And then the other bullet points in this section have to do with like me having the authority to sign off on storm repairs, but also having the right to refer to the commission for additional input. You know, this emergency work may only last for 30 days was Billy's suggestion because that's like from the emergency certification verbiage.
Yeah.
And then this was the next 3 basically were Mark Stinson's input about like making him kind of a contact person because I'm part-time and, you know, I might not be in the office, I might be out of town, all that stuff. So one is emergency repairs, or actually 2 of them are emergency repairs. And then the third one is about catastrophic emergencies, which I don't even know really what would define catastrophic. I think a matter of like, it has to be addressed now versus like in the next few days would be catastrophic. But, yeah, so that was directly from Mark, as like him basically being like, yes, you can give out my cell number so that people can call me if that's the case. So that's kind of how I chose to approach the emergency storm repair conundrum, because they did have 2 sections in the NOI, and just making it more narrowed to those 2 sections and not just like any emergency that might happen. Otherwise I didn't really know how to do it, you know. Yeah, just so it wasn't so broad, and kind of making it so that they did have to put in emergency certifications for any other issues besides those 2.
I just put some a definition from FEMA regarding catastrophic incidents.
I feel like I spent a lot of time on these draft orders, and I don't want to suck up any more oxygen on them. I defer to the rest of the commission to think about it, ask questions, share thoughts. Again, so some of this language, like work with BVWs, this is taken right out of their NOI. So like this threshold of less than 5 cubic yards of temporary, that's right out of their NOI. I mean, have all commissioners really looked at those thresholds and thought about what if that's okay? And
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to review the document by the deadline. I kept meaning to. And I would like to take a look at the changes that you've made, Jessica. So I, in all honesty, don't know that I can vote on it tonight. And I regret asking for more time, but I would appreciate that. So I would be able to think about things as Kristen was saying about. And you both have done a great deal of work, and we've had a lot of input from DEP, but I also want to take it very seriously, because if this is going to be used as a template for the rest of the state, I think it does seem like it's in really good shape, and a lot of the materials been from pulled from good sources, but I would appreciate having a little more time to review it.
Okay, I just want to point out, since if that's the direction we're headed, just kind of draw your attention to the screen where it says bridge maintenance. I don't know a lot about that, and you can see Billy still has the comment up there on the right-hand side. I didn't know how to edit that.
Mm.
You can take that out. I mean, I think that I probably put that in there just as like, I was just trying to think of, I don't even know what Mass DOT properties are in the city of Greenfield. I was just trying to think of like different stuff, but
Right.
if it's not applicable, like, let's just nix it. I think
Okay.
that's fine.
Sure.
Okay. Oh, and then Kristen, this buffer zone work, you had mentioned, you had put a comment about you put a comment about that. Let me see if I can bring it up.
Yeah, let me look my old versions too.
It was your most recent comment to me. Let's see.
On the 10th.
Yeah, probably.
What page are you on? Category 2. For buffer zone stuff? Oh, I was just suggesting that we want to consider, so you had written that minor projects would be subject to review by the agent. And I was suggesting as a global comment throughout the whole document, do we want to say the agent and or the commission? So if the agent's like,
Oh.
you know what, I'm not sure, maybe want to present this to the commission. Just to kind of
Yes.
cover our behinds a little bit so that it's not just like blanket administrative approval. The agent has the opportunity to say, this is a commission question, not just the agent administrative approval. I think that's what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
So I did put, so I added that to this section right above the buffer zone work as
Okay.
category 3. I did add verbiage in there to try to like make it more of a blanket.
Gotcha. Okay.
Think.
Very good. Okay. So I think, does anybody stringently object to taking a little bit more time with this to review at further depth, greater depth?
I'd appreciate it too. I agree with Emily. I had gone through it, but I hadn't gone through the newest updated version, so.
Right
It's
on.
a lot, guys. It's a lot. It's got to be 15 pages long. It's dense.
So do we feel like the next, what did we say, the 28th of January, or do you want an additional extension beyond that? Reasonably, just realistically, what is the amount of time that we think that we need to appropriately review, research, and approve this document, given the import of it?
If we can take another month, that'd be great. I'm curious about the external pressure for us to clear it. Is this needed in order to get things rolling for the state, or is it more a matter of just having the document in hand to be shared?
Billy I asked her that in the fall. She
Yeah.
said that it wasn't pressing, but if we could have a goal of after the new year, like the
Yeah.
meeting after the new year, which is tonight. So I don't know what her answer would be to that question now.
Great. Well, I guess our answer is just we're doing the best we can.
I did have one other question about, so a lot of times because this is a 5-year order of conditions, not your typical 3-year order of conditions, and it's for routine O&M, we typically would want to see an annual report, and Mark Stinson suggested we request a biannual report just until we see how things are going, and then we can always reduce that later. Did we put that in there, Jessica?
Yes, that's in there. I
Okay.
believe in the first section of conditions
Was
before.
was Billy okay with that? Because she seemed not happy about that before.
Oh, I'd have to look at my notes because I didn't change it. And I feel like I changed everything that there were notes about.
Okay.
But I'll make a note to see if I have anything from her. I can also call her again.
I also had another comment just about, if there is any herbicide treatment for invasive species that the commission would be notified prior to and be given an herbicide use report after as part of the annual or biannual reporting as well. I don't know if that made it into the final version.
I did not add that.
I think that any EPA required documentation we should request in the final or the biannual or whatever reporting we're requiring. And a prior notification of any chemicals only in jurisdiction. If they're outside jurisdiction, whatever, but if they're in like, riverfront or buffer zone and they're using chemical treatment, we can ask for just an email notification and then a herbicide use report just to make sure it's being implemented correctly and just file it.
Yep, there it is.
Is the spraying on there?
Oh,
I already closed out my comment doc, but I think that was one of my more recent
Yeah,
comments.
that was your more recent one, and that one didn't get added. I was working on that one today.
got it here.
Yeah,
Should
but
not be.
it doesn't talk about the reporting, so I can add that to the reporting section as well.
And that, again, that's typical with, what we see other applicants do with these BNOI 5-year order of conditions for blanket O&M, routine O&M stuff too.
All right, so it sounds, I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing this. It sounds like we are in a decision point of how far out can we reasonably push this? And so the 28th would be our next coming meeting. And then after that, it would be the 11th of February. I don't think it's unreasonable to push it out to the 11th of February if we are absolutely on it and finish it up and vote on it on that date. If that is the amount of time that the commission feels that it needs to appropriately review this document.
I feel that would be sufficient for me. And also that allows us, by having some kind of further deadline, to have the final changes that Kristen and Jessica were looking at to be incorporated. And then if a fresh link for the most recent version could be sent around, that'd be helpful for me so I don't get confused about which is which. And it might be for others.
Excellent. So February 11 would be the meeting that we push this off to. Can we get a?
Yeah, I'll motion to continue the hearing for a notice of intent for maintenance of roadways and drainage systems on I-91 routes 2, 5, and 10. That's DEP file 1680363 to February 11th with a sincere intention of closing the hearing on that date.
I'll second.
Great. So let's vote on it then. Erica,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
I'm also an aye. Okay, let me. That is the last public hearing that we have. I do believe we need a motion to close out the public hearing portion of this meeting.
Oh.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to close out the public hearing portion of this meeting.
Second.
We have to do that. I probably didn't do that last time I was taking over for you, Liz. Oops.
All right. So we've got a second. Let's get a vote. Emily?
Aye.
Kristen?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
I am also an aye. Great. Now let's move on to new business. Right? Is that where we are at here? Yep. Okay. Request for certificate of compliance, 1417 Bernardston Road, DEP number 168-0329. Expires 10/21/2024, solar array installation.
Okay, so Chris Pitney is here tonight. He has requested the certificate of compliance. And in the Google Drive, we have as-built plans as well as the site visit photos.
What expired in October?
The extension, I believe.
Was there a COVID tolling extension or is that with the
I think
COVID?
it was
toll?
an actual extension.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, COC.
This?
Yeah, that's the site visit, and then those are the as-built plans.
Which ones do you want?
Well, we could do the as-built. Maybe Chris would like to talk about those.
Okay. Let me put this up here. That was.
Yeah, I'm happy to I don't know if you all can hear me, but I'm happy to talk about whatever is helpful for you all.
Sure can.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give a little overview. So some of you have been on long enough to remember the original permitting. When we originally applied for the permit, we were going to have panels, solar arrays on the Greenfield side of the line and on the Bernardston side of the town line. The site goes into both municipalities. I believe it was in 2022, we realized that that it wasn't feasible to put the solar panels on the Greenfield side of the line. There just wasn't enough space. There was far less usable space than we thought there was going to be. And so we came before the commission at that time to amend the permit, which was done basically during that meeting. And then, so we did that, and these as-built plans that are being presented are reflective of the plans that were submitted. I'm pretty sure the year was 2022. I think it was in the fall of 2022. Since then, construction started in the spring of 2023 and was, you could get into terminology, but we consider the project to have been completed in September of last year. So we did finish all work before the permit expired. We should have filed probably our certificate of compliance at that time, but I think effectively the work was completed within the permit timeframes. And so I can run through the as-built drawings. The as-built drawings. So what the as-built drawings are going to show you is all the solar arrays are on the Bernardston side of the town line. What Greenfield has is there was an existing driveway that linked from the main road to up. It goes maybe a quarter mile up to the Greenfield. Excuse me, to the Greenfield Bernardston town line. So we widened that driveway, which is what we had discussed in 2022, and then the utility installed their electrical connection for the facility there on the Greenfield side of the line, right along the road, and then we installed an underground cable to meet up with their facilities, essentially. And we may, sorry, I don't know who's driving the screen, but if you go down. This is the if you go down to the post, the post-construction drawings are in another couple pages, I think. A few more, it looks like.
Just tell me when.
Oh, there you go. Now you can see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look by the road there, you can see the construction poles that are put in. They're the ones with all the labels. Those are the utility poles that were put in along the road. And then the dark gray driveway area is what was installed. The cursor moving there, that we also put in a temporary laydown area that will get remediated. We're trying to figure out what to do with the property currently. But you'll notice the laydown area was sited outside of the wetland buffer areas. It was the backyard of the houses that are there, and it was upland area.
Chris, all that
so-
area
so most-
was cleared, right? The Greenfield side?
The backyard, we had to do a little bit more clearing, but not much. I think we cut down maybe like 2 or 3 trees.
Oh,
Basically, we
okay.
took what was it was their grassy backyard, and in order to make I don't know how to describe it, but in order to make the connection, so the driveway used to just go to the houses. We extended the driveway through the houses, through the backyard to connect up to the road, which makes that oval. So we had to cut down a couple of trees to do that, I
Okay,
think.
gotcha.
Yeah, right there, where whoever's doing the cursor. But again, that's temporary. That section of the road through the backyard, our intent is to move it, but it is also outside of the upland area. It's in an upland area outside of the buffer areas. And that's about it. We do I don't know, Jessica, if you're going to talk through this. There is the silt fence, a lot of the erosion control measures and sedimentation measures. So for better or worse, Bernardston had us hire an environmental monitor, and the environmental monitor doesn't actually distinguish between the town lines. So they write up their report for stuff for us to do for the entire project. So we've been following that, even though it doesn't strictly come from Greenfield. It's just sort of been the way the project works. So their erosion control measures are still in place. We agreed with Bernardston that we would leave those up until the vegetation of next spring. So essentially take them down probably in like June or something, after any grass has had any that didn't get a chance to grow this year. It's had a chance to establish next year.
Hey, Chris, I'm just curious, who is your environmental monitor?
So Pacifico itself, our monitor, we use TRC out of the Lowell office, and then Bernardston hired as their third-party reviewer, Swicka.
Okay, I kind of was thinking that. I work for SWCA, so I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay.
I didn't know that. I did not know that, I swear to God, until just now. That's why I asked.
No,
so.
that's fine. And to be fair, technically Swicka has no jurisdiction, so I don't know that you're actually in conflict. Because
No, and I have no, like I said, I had no idea at all, but just for comfort levels, I'll just recuse myself. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Thanks, guys.
So I think that's sort of the overview. Like I said, it's a pretty simple site. The only area, the only really new build we did, that you guys had asked us to move the driveway, the old driveway routing you can see in white, sort of in the upper center right. No, sorry, not that one. I don't know if there's a way I can show my cursor, but over by the laydown area, just to the north of the laydown area.
I think it's like
Oh, the right.
here.
Yeah, you see the driveway routing now sort of curves out around. Yeah, that's that's the old, that white is the old driveway. You had asked us in the original permitting to move the driveway so that it went further away from the wetland, which is what we did. So basically, the only real construction we did in Greenfield was the laydown area, and then moving that section of driveway to be further away from the wetland. So our construction overall was quite minimal in Greenfield.
We have some good pictures of that. It might be a good segue to go look at the pictures. Let's see, does that. Okay, so this,
Let me get back to share.
this is the bottom of the road where the poles were installed along the left side, and you can see that the silt fence is still there, so that will remain until late spring. And I don't think these are necessarily in order for some reason, but this is far up the road. This is the section of the road that they built, and the grassy part on the right of the riprap is the old section of the road. So this is where the road is veering. The new road is veering away from the wetland buffer. So that's looking back further up the road. So we're looking back towards the beginning of the road. They put boulders to prevent people from using the old road. And this is where, I don't know why they're going in this order, but this is almost at the end of the road towards the solar installation. This is just, I'm pretty much at a culvert and showing the riprap and the silt fencing that they installed to help keep it out of the stream, keep sedimentation out of the stream. And again, this is the culvert. It comes on the other side of the silt fence. Again, a side view of the culvert. More riprap to stabilize the road. Okay, this is, yeah, the old road from the other direction, and it's looking up towards the landing area where they were storing supplies. There's more. Okay, so this was one of the first culverts going up the road from the main road and showing the riprap and some wattles to help. I think to help as kind of it takes the vegetation starts to take hold. Yeah, it's back at the beginning. Okay, so I went back today to get better pictures of the culverts, but there was snow on the ground. So yeah, this was one of there's 3 culverts. This is the middle one going uphill away from the resource area. The other photo was going downhill towards the resource area. That's just looking towards the resource area. Oh yeah, so there's a culvert on the other side of the silt fence, and then there's another one just sort of in the woods.
Yeah, that's, but believe it or not, we had a lengthy conversation about that when we did the original permitting. That's an old road. You can see it on the driveway. We never touched it. And so there was a lengthy conversation, and they after much back and forth, people said, well, if you're never going to use that road, just leave it and don't disturb it. And that's what we did.
I didn't realize that was a road.
Yeah, I mean, it was like an old logging road, it was an old, like, very rough road that had been put in well before we ever purchased the property.
So this is also a culvert.
Here.
Culvert. I know, it's hard to see with the snow.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
And then this is the kind of that landing area that falls outside the buffer zone. I just sort of scanned left towards the house as I took those photos. And yeah, that was the first culvert going up the road from the main road with those straw wattles. That's it.
So let's see. We're looking for a certificate of compliance.
And something I wanted to bring up that I had heard in the meeting when the extension was requested was there was an enforcement order from many agents ago from 2019 about those culverts. But it sounds like with the adjustments to the road that they worked. Chris, correct me if I'm wrong. Did you work on those culverts more to adjust the road and make it stable?
I don't know for sure. What I believe we did is in the course of widening the road. So the road, say, was like 10 to 12 feet wide, and we had to widen it out to 15 feet, I believe, for the fire department requirements. I believe some of the culverts, they basically sort of did it like a culvert extension as needed when they were widening the road. But that's going off of recollection. Beyond that, our intent was to do as little with the culverts as possible. That is to leave, the existing flow conditions the way they were. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but yeah, that is unfortunately as much as I recall from the conversations back then.
Okay.
Let's see.
How big were the two culverts? It's a little hard to tell from the pictures. Was it just two that you created?
There's 3.
Three.
Three. Yeah, they were all existing. Well, I guess, is that right? At least 2 of them were existing. I'm pretty sure all 3 were existing. I think off the top of my head, they're like 15 or 18 inch. They're pretty standard size culverts.
Thanks.
But not huge.
Are there any observations that have been made during flood events that were that happened, during or after the construction of the roads?
I couldn't speak to those. So our agreement with with SWCA for the Bernardston side was, I think, rainfall events. I can't remember the standard. It was 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch. They'd have to come out and inspect. And so that area where you saw the riprap and the straw wattle, I suspect was a remediation because they thought we were getting too much sedimentation through that culvert. So basically, it was pretty regularly inspected, and we would have to do, within a reasonable time frame, the remediation they recommended.
You said that the laydown area is just gonna be partially abandoned, letting it go back to natural, is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that is our plan. So that we put gravel down for that road, is that the gravel should be, scraped back up. They'll scrape the top few inches up back to the more natural soil and then reseed it. We are potentially looking at redeveloping it, so we may. When we were out at site, I was actually surprised that they hadn't done that already. So I'd have to check to see. But yes, that has been our plan, is to essentially put it back to the grass backyard that you see in the rest of the area.
But you're keeping the road, right? I mean, the road is your access.
Correct, not, yeah, the more northerly section of that road is the primary access. You won't drive through the area. You won't drive through the houses anymore for long-term access. You'll drive north of both houses.
Does the commission have any further questions or concerns around this? Bearing in mind that it's just the road on the Greenfield side?
No.
Barring any, I think that we can move forward with issuing your certificate of compliance.
I'll make a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for the solar array. Well, the road on our side of the solar array. And blah, blah, blah. I don't have the.
Yeah,
the
actually,
DPW
I got it.
number.
The DEP number 168-0329. So yes, so we've got the motion. Thank you, Erica. Can,
I'll second.
so we're gonna go ahead and vote. Erica,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Kristen has recused herself. I am also an aye. We're happy to issue this certificate of compliance.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, and if there's anything further, certainly let us know. And we may, like I said, we're still trying to figure out a bit. This property was also rezoned to commercial since the intervening years as this has gone on. So there's a very good chance we may come back before you and look to try to make use of this property in another way. So if that happens, I look forward to having a discussion with you again.
Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your patience with our technical issues tonight.
No problem. Thank you very much. Have a nice night.
You too.
Bye.
Yeah, I think that's I think I think that makes the most sense at this point in the evening. Oh. So our next order of business is the parcel RO 8-11A-0A on Lampblack Road. Road was cut and excavated down the wooded hillside to the floodplain and riverfront below in order to access the Fall River. This was not a permitted project, and Stephen Pritchard was heading the project and is currently here with us this evening. And let's see, how do I want to do this? Perhaps, do we have we've got some pictures I know that we took, yeah.
Put pictures in the.
Yep, do you want to go ahead and I can bring those up and you
Yes.
want to?
Want me to give a little history though before we get going?
Yeah, why don't you do that
Why
and.
don't I give a little history before you shock everybody? the photos. Just the history of the family. My wife's family is pretty amazing. Basically, the Griswold family's been on the road since the late 1700s.
Mhm.
And one of the family members, her uncle Bill, he was a World War II bomber pilot, and he was on the Conservation Commission. He actually helped, along with the Greenfield Tool and Die folks, to donate land from the Griswold family. I think I can't remember the acreage, 150 to 200 acres was donated for the wildlife reserve and the conservation land. So with that said, I came into the family in 1988, and Missy's, my wife's grandma, passed away. She was a Griswold. That was Betty Griswold. She willed the land to my wife's dad, and she passed away, right when that happened. And I just thought, hey, I came into the family then. Hopefully it wasn't me coming into the family that caused her to pass. But anyway, so for the past 37 years, the family basically used the house. My in-laws lived in Chicago, and they used the family or the house for a weekend getaway for any family member that wanted to use it. And her uncle took care of it when they weren't around. And then my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and my father-in-law plan on moving up there this year into the house across the road from where the path is. And Missy and I are going to move into the adjacent house. So with that said, over the past 37 years since I came into the family, numerous times there was conversations about, boy, I wish we had access to the river, because where the hayfield is, it's almost 250 feet down to the water. And the where the path was constructed was a natural ravine, because the other parts of the land where you head further south on Lamplack, it's even more steep where it wouldn't make sense. So with that said, I nonchalantly mentioned to an excavator who did the work on our home grading process, hey, would you be interested in checking this out? And he goes, Steve, I can get you a road down to the river or a path. I asked him to make a path. Now, it looks excessive because excavators don't have 24-inch bulldozers. It would have been nice just to have a walking path, but that was our intent, to walk down. And I said to my wife, with us living there full time, I've heard there's brook trout and other fish. I love to fish. I like to get back in it. And we're planning on moving there full time. I thought it'd be nice to have something else to do. So that's what started the whole process. We did not know you had to pull permits with family land. I checked out, I had a guy survey the land when we cut our lot, so we knew exactly where the lot line was. And I said, holy cow, my mother-in-law told me, because they bought the land in 88 from other folks because they wanted to keep a large quantity of land in the Griswold family for the descendants in the future. And she said, it goes right to the river. I'm like, well, so that's path forward. That's where we are. That's how it all started. So this guy, I just let him do his thing. And each day I would go over and I'm like, wow. Well, it was a very steep ravine. And basically what an excavator does is he takes dirt off the high side and moves it onto the flat. So you have a level path down, so you don't have to worry about the dangers of falling over or whatever.
Right.
But it is, the pictures will show.
So I'm going to go ahead and put these pictures up. And I have no
Yeah,
control over the
so-
order, but
Yeah, the order is weird. So this is like halfway down the trail. That was probably the excavator
Oh, you can see that, okay.
taking soil upland. Yeah, you could keep going. This is just to show kind of the scar on the hillside. I'm standing on the road part. Yeah, this order is really wonky. So this is the bottom of the road. It's, I'm looking, so like right when you get to the bottom of the road, I look right. So I'm looking kind of downstream. The river is actually in the distance. You can see it in the distance. What's right in front of me is, I don't know what it is. It looks like it might just be like a seep, like where some water might seep out. It is not the river, but it is different than like the leaf litter area. I'm up the road a little bit, looking downstream. So you can see that seepy area. And now I'm at the bottom of the road looking kind of what would be upstream. Just to the left, you can't really see. I think there's one more picture, but you can see there's some of that seepiness. So it's on like both sides of the road.
Jessica, on that photo, if you go back, that's not fill, is it?
That's where
That's where the
that's where he
road,
stopped.
yeah, like he came out of the woods and like drove-
Pushed soil down the slope.
Yeah,
Yeah, he just ended right there at the river flat.
yep. Yeah, so like where I'm standing, there's like a tree kind of right in the left foreground. I'm just like up the slope a bit, so there is some that's coming out onto the woods, onto the flat area, but he didn't like actively dig.
Just pushed
Once
down.
the flat,
But
yeah,
that's fill.
yeah. So now this is the seep thing I was talking about, but upstream versus downstream. And so now we're kind of backing up the hill. And this is looking up. This is walking down.
Is that Eric?
Yeah, that's Eric. That kind of cut into the hillside that we looked at, the first photo is to the right.
Is that erosion resultant of that road being cut?
I think that was actively like gnawed at by the excavator.
That's where he took it to
Yeah.
get the flat.
Right.
Because this would have just continued down. So he
So-
notched out
Yeah.
the hillside to build.
And he pushed the excess soil down the slope into the resource area?
Yes.
And so, yeah, this was when we first kind of started descending. We weren't really sure how far down we were gonna go, so I was snapping photos. All right, so yeah, I'm almost at the top of the road. Now I am at the top of the road.
I wish you could have, I mean, if you had seen it before he started, there was a lot of barren
Mm.
leaf coverage. There wasn't a lot of trees in some areas. What started this approach was there was like a microburst, I don't know, late August and October, several trees into some fell into the hayfield, some fell downhill. And that's when I invited him to check. And he goes, yeah, I can make a path. We'll just follow the turn of the
Mhm.
natural ravine. But right from the get-go, my plan was to replant. And I'll
Right.
talk about that further as we go, but
Okay.
you know, I'm sure everybody is concerned. I am too about erosion. You don't want the hill to keep
Mhm.
falling. So to get some trees established on the sides, and there is materials that you can use. He did it behind our barn that we built. He blew mulch up under the hill to stop erosion.
Mhm.
They also sell, they're like rugs that you roll out made of jute. And you can cut the necks into it to put a root ball in to plant trees, but the jute mats will prevent dirt
Yeah.
from eroding down.
Right.
But, you know, we had no clue about the Wetlands Act. No clue. And then
Yes, this is just like at the very top.
That's the bulldozer that he used to move the dirt after he scratched the sides
Gotcha.
to build a flat.
And that's just from the road.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of land that the family owns from Lamplack Road to the riverfront
Mhm.
that no one's ever used. One guy skied an opening one year, almost killed himself and had to walk back up. But I mean, with us moving there and living full time, it's a shame to have, I think there's 12 acres of land they have on that side of the road. They have 7 acres not accessible.
So that's the bulk of the photos, but I did a GIS screenshot too. 'Cause I just wanted to look at that real fast.
Yeah, let me, here, find that, and
And
then,
then
Is it-
here, go here, because I think you're in the site visit folder, and then right there. So. Okay, so this is just that star, the red star is where I believe we entered the woods. And then it switched back down through the woods, and then see, so
Road ends right
yeah,
about
there's a few layers going on, like the river and the stream are two different layer. You know, the river's more of a wetland layer, so it shows as a polygon, and the stream is a line with the buffer zone. But then there's these other little, it's a It's the USGS hydrology stream layer, and it's showing these other blue kind of streamy tributary things that go to the Fall River, and I think that that's probably what that fill crossed over when I was at the bottom of the road.
Now, what he said he did down there, because he realized there were natural springs coming out of the bottom of the hillside, he stacked like triple to 6 tree trunks to create like a natural bridge so the water would not be obstructed by the dirt flow.
Right. And that was,
I did not want him to put in a concrete culvert pipe. I wanted to keep it natural, but I did say you got some wash. I'm not sure if that's coming back from the river. I assume it's leaking out of the side of the hill through springs, and that's what this kind of shows too. So he was cognizant of that, and I said, just stop when you get to the river flat. At that point, I'm like, I knew from other friends of mine that you do not want to do anything with the trees on the river flat. One was broken from the storm, whatever, and another one was dead. So you'll see there's 2 stumps at the bottom. That's the only trees he touched.
so let's go to the picture from the bottom here real quick. That is the one I wanted to, yeah.
That's
So this
where he
is-
stacked the trees.
Right.
That's like the top canopy part of the trunks, and then the main trunks are underneath
Underneath
this.
there.
Because I told him you gotta let that water seep back to the river. But
Can we just ask, I mean, one, we know this is in State Wetlands Protection Act jurisdiction. This is definitely riverfront. It's definitely in local jurisdiction. Is it in bordering land subject to flood? Do we know that?
I
Is-
don't believe it was when I did the ARC map screenshot. I had all the layers active.
I don't think we have BLSF for spatial data in our region. You have to pull a firm,
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
you
there's
know,
just an
what I have is
elevation.
the 100-year flood.
Yeah. That's something, I mean, maybe the applicant can look into that, or maybe DEP. Do we know if the state wants to pursue any enforcement action?
We have not talked to the state. This was the first step.
Gotcha. I mean, there's cut and fill in resource area. If we issued an enforcement order for a recent landowner who just cut down some trees, this is certainly more than that.
Right, yeah, so I guess. What are the mitigation?
I don't think it's our job to we can ask the applicant to provide us with option. I don't think we can tell him what he has to do we? I mean,
We did with the trees,
did we? Oh, shoot, I forgot.
yeah. We required certain mixes of, this is another unpermitted
oh, that's,
that we have had dealt with in the past. And so we did require in that particular instance that certain mixes of trees that had been cut down get replaced, and that certain maintenance strategies are in place, the survivorship.
I think the first step would be that we would have to issue an enforcement order, notify the state. And then in that enforcement order, it would say you have to whatever within a certain number of days or weeks or whatever. And whether that's present a mitigation plan or come to the commission with a idea, and we can bounce ideas around together or something like that. But I feel like the state needs to know this because this is in state jurisdiction. This might even be in BLSF.
which is what?
Bordering land subject to flooding.
Bordering land subject to flooding.
I'm looking at a format. Let me just, can I do a screen share real quick, Jessica?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, go ahead.
I guess I have to send a request first.
Uh-uh.
Okay. Oh.
That's okay. There we
This is
go.
all new technology. We're learning. We're learning together. Okay, let me try. Okay. Okay, so first of all, this is my, let me turn on my contours.
Mhm.
Do. So I think this is the property with the contour elevations, and these are those two light blue lines, which are intermittent streams. There's one here, there's one here, and there's one here, and this is the perennial stream.
Yep.
So 200 feet of these intermittent streams are locally jurisdictional, and 200 feet of this perennial stream is jurisdictional under this state. And then this obviously is a very steep slope. And then the Fermet, so we're south of Bascom, and of course, I'm like cut right off, but it's somewhere in here, and I don't know where exactly we are, because this is an old-fashioned Fermet from 1980, but we probably have a baseline elevation that we can pull from here, and I mean, if we do talk to the state, they're gonna want to know that, because if it's not just riverfront, but it's also bordering land subject to flood, and there's cut and fill, that is gonna matter, just because of the performance standards for the 100-year floodplain. For every 1 foot in elevation contour, if there's cut and fill, it needs to be mitigated for flood storage compensation, and there was quite a lot of cut and fill there. So that's the only reason I'm wondering if we are in the 100-foot flood zone. And this, obviously, this paper map is really coarse. We have no idea where your property is here, but it's something you might want to look into.
So can we provide some guidance in terms of what the next steps would be for you in order for you to be able to, so Kristen, are we required to report this up to the state?
If we issue an enforcement order, we can issue an enforcement order under the local ordinance
Mhm.
and or the state Wetlands Protection Act. And I guess that's up to the commission. I mean, in my opinion, this is in both jurisdictions. It's in state and local.
Mhm.
And if we, stuck it to one guy for riverfront, for cutting trees in riverfront,
Mhm.
we have to kind of follow a precedent. This
Sure.
is my opinion, though.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with the following of the protocol, and I certainly agree with the jurisdictional decisions or comments that you've made. But I guess the question that I'm wondering is how can we best prepare Stephen to move forward with this such that we're not sticking it to anybody, I guess.
I mean, I don't think the state will go after them. They only go after big players who do huge impacts, I think, and that involve like, the attorney general. I
Right.
think this will be a local issue personally, that we can work out locally.
Yeah.
But once an enforcement order is issued, it follows the deed until it's been closed. So it is in the landowner's best interest to make it good. And I
Mhm.
don't know what that might be. I mean, I think that that's really,
Would it be pulling the trees and the fill out of there?
Well, I think as far as like what the mitigation is, that we would work together basically
Collectively come
to
up.
figure out
Yeah.
the best way to deal with that, right? So you're not left just trying to figure out what the heck to do with a pile of dirt. Right?
yeah.
Yeah, and we wanna
Well, that
make it,
makes access to the river flat.
Yeah, I mean, then it's, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, the other thing you were hinting a little bit ago, I think it was Jessica, or it might have been you, as far as, I already made contact with, a nursery buddy of mine
Mhm.
for large quantities of trees.
Mhm.
As far as the mix, they can get all kinds of trees. And I'd have them delivered.
right? And so now that is a matter of, I think the thing that we would require is relates to that piece is that it's got to be native to Franklin County.
Yeah.
And there will be some survivorship requirements as well.
And what does that mean?
Basically, we would require that you show us over a period of years that we would discuss and work out that
Or maintain it,
75,
maintain it.
85, 95% of the planting survives. And if anything less than that survives, and then you would have to replace that.
Okay, and you would
just-
come up with the number of trees.
Yes, we would work together to figure out
Okay.
what makes the most sense in terms of what's gonna prevent erosion in those spaces.
Right.
I feel like the biggest concern right now, though, the immediate concern is immediately stabilizing this unstable slope that goes straight to a resource area. So
Okay.
like, are there any erosion controls in place? Do we have straw wattles? I mean, is there any sort
There's
of,
nothing there right now.
You had-
And there was a torrential rainstorm 1 week into the project,
Mhm.
and the excavator, because he's made roads his whole career. I mean, he's older than I am, and I'm getting up there. But anyway, there was no washout across the path, or
Mhm.
the road, as you call it,
Mhm.
which was a good sign. It's going into there's a valley left, the original valley,
Mhm.
went into there and it just stayed right of the
Mhm.
new road.
I
probably
think-
a wetland?
Yeah, so I guess our biggest concern would be to prevent any further erosion as a result of this excavation.
Right.
That would be like before we even have a chance to take any action of any sort, to prevent any further erosion, because it is ultimately, I mean, it's gonna, like water, it will go down to its lowest possible point.
Yeah.
And we want to avoid putting any more into the water area.
Yeah.
And so you had mentioned burlap,
Yeah.
landscape cover of some sort,
It's
or?
jute. It's like-
Jute.
It looks like a window shade. It's very fine strips of jute
Mhm.
tied together. It's like a big roll.
Right.
And you unroll it, and then there's biodegradable pins that you attach to the sidewalk, and they'll rot away.
Mhm.
And you
Uh,
can slice it to plant trees or whatever.
Right. So, I think at the absolute very least, as Kristen mentioned, some straw wattles along the base of the excavation, so that anything that does start to trickle down stops right there.
I say.
And then I don't know if this time of year it makes a whole lot of sense to throw that jute down.
It's frozen.
Right, and so getting anything into that might not work, but
Yeah.
I think the wattles are the bare minimum of what needs to be done.
Bales of straw.
Bales?
I think wattles would be fine, and I think that if when you create a road, you do like water bars, or a trail, you do water bars, kind of like at a cross angle. You could do wattles at cross angles along the road slope that might work to serve. And honestly, if you can like seed and mulch it with even a winter rye, it's loose soil. It's just, even with erosion controls, it's just gonna rill and gully and wash away.
Right, I guess my question at this point is that the ground's frozen,
Yeah, it's,
so I wouldn't think anything would germinate.
As soon as we have, I mean, we get
Yeah.
thaws in January, February now, so. I don't know what grows, you would know better than me, Liz, but I mean, it's just the worst time of year. And I just think you can put as much erosion controls and bales and wattles and everything out there. It's so precarious.
Right,
And it's such a steep slope. And there's fill, it's not even just like, like a clear cut road, like it's topsoil. It's
Mm.
loose, it's just, I don't know. It's precarious. And put it this way, any measurable amount of material in a jurisdictional resource area will be something that the state will absolutely pay attention to. So if you have, a quantifiable amount of soil in a wetland or even riverfront area, the state will pay attention to that. So it is in your best interest to make sure that there is no soil migration.
so,
the concern is you don't want erosion to deposit
anymore,
soil into the water.
yeah, right, And so the wattles are a first step, but I definitely hear Kristen's point in terms of that steep slope and any rains if we get a thaw.
What happens when you have, there was leaf coverage, it
Mhm,
was pretty solid. It was probably this thick.
mhm.
So when it rains, aren't
Well,
particles
that
of
would
soil
sheet-
going in, oh, that would sheet the
The
water. up.
leaves would, yeah,
It's like a roof material.
right.
So the water just washes into the ravine and then fresh, clear water goes into the river.
So the issue is where the, let me see. This type of thing here, let me just, so the commission can see what I'm looking at here. So this, I think, this type of
Oh,
open,
right. It's a
like-
root, it was a root ball that was there.
right, so but there's several spaces where the top, like as Kristen was saying, the topsoil is now gone, the living roots have now been torn up, and that leaf litter that you were mentioning is no longer in these spaces.
Right.
And that's sort of the concern around where Kristen, correct me if I'm wrong, Kristen, but this is where Kristen was suggesting that getting
Even,
the-
yeah, and also on that constructed road, which that looks like some cut, but then there was some fill to create an elevated road so that it was a more even
Right.
decline down the slope. But it's loose, yeah, go back to one, yeah, that one, it's loose
Hold on.
soil. You can even see the rilling and gullying in that, if you go back one photo or two photos, right there. You can
Yep.
see, go forward,
Mhm.
right there in the middle, you can even see some
Yep.
rilling, and there wasn't even a rain event before that. So obviously, if we get some, freeze thaw activities, which is very typical of this time of year, this is loose soil, there's no vegetation, there are no roots kind of holding that soil in place. There aren't
Right.
even side slopes, it's just soil. And at the bottom of the slope, it's obviously a resource area. So
Right.
any of that side slope that erodes over to the left or to the right or down to the
and this even here.
top of that photo, it's all going into a resource area. So all of that is fill in a resource area. And you want to stop that as much as possible. I know it's impossible, it's already done, but like try to control, my advice would be try to control any future soil migration into jurisdictional resource areas to the maximum extent practicable.
Right.
Would mulch be a choice?
Mulch isn't gonna hold on to the soil,
Right.
which is
Like to
the,
wash off too.
right, yes, exactly.
What about the jute maps?
Yeah, that
Mats?
was sort of what I was, what do you think about that, Kristen? The jute mats?
I would pound it with whatever BMPs you can think of. Honestly, I would be worried about this if I were you. I would put down anything that I had my hands on.
Mhm. In terms of practical usage as well, like you're eventually gonna be looking at not just the resource concerns, but like the road itself is gonna cease to be functional if things start to wash out.
If ravine or
Hi,
ruts.
can I just chime in on something?
Sure can.
I'm Melissa Pritchard, Steve's wife, and the landowner. And
Mhm.
I'm just wondering, I understand all the concerns, but if we, get all the, whatever material we can get to mitigate any soil movement, and if we monitor anytime there's a thaw or a rain or whatever to see what's occurring, if any, because I do think a lot of the water goes down the natural ravine the way it
Mhm.
always has. And I'm not saying that the dirt's not going to move, because you're right, it's loose. But if we, do the materials to try to stabilize it,
Mhm.
but then we also monitor it whenever there's any kind of rain event or thaw event to make sure that nothing's happening.
Mhm.
Would that even be of value to you? I mean,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's not as bad as it looks. I mean, I know the photos are shocking, but I think we can do it. I mean, I think we can. I mean, and as far as the cut and fill and everything at the bottom on the what you call the resource area, I guess. I mean, as Steve mentioned, there was one dead tree and then there was one bent tree. Those were the only two trees taken down on the flat area. It's not like we clear cut it and filled or did anything down there. you know, when the path got to the bottom, we stopped.
Mhm.
So I'm, you know, there wasn't anything else there. Other than the dirt that you see right now, that's kind of the way it looked. So I don't know I think if we can make sure that there's no more dirt, or if there's no dirt coming down the hill, then I don't feel like the resource area would be impacted at all. Do you think?
I feel like there's two issues, Melissa. The first issue is, one, immediately button this up.
Yeah,
Two is, let's figure out how to mitigate after that. But
Okay.
I think buttoning this up doesn't qualify as mitigating.
can we do the buttoning up before you issue any kind of, I forgot what you called it, but before you notify the state?
Trying to get to.
Or can we try to fix it before you issue any kind of anything?
So that's kind of what I was hoping that this conversation would get us to, was a place where you could take immediate action,
Yep,
and have that in place before, or as in the same time as we have to take whatever actions that we have to take.
yeah, I agree 100%, because, you know, we love the land, we love the beauty of the land. We don't want anything changed. I actually, he told me about this path and I was excited about it. But I was also surprised, you know, how invasive it looked. But, you know, I see his vision. I see his vision of like a hiking path, and it will still have trees and it'll look all natural, except you'll have this nice little meandering path down to the flat. Obviously it doesn't look like that now, but I can see where he's going with it. And I think we can get there. And I think we can, Steve's very resourceful. I'm sure he can call all his buddies and figure out what we can do right now, like in the next 2 weeks, to put some material down.
I just want to say, Steve and Melissa, I was just at Griswold Conservation Area yesterday. I go there all the time.
Yep.
I'm very grateful. I'm sure I'm not the only one. We are all very grateful for your family's contribution to the conservation land in the city of Greenfield. And I know that you're not trying to be whatever. We get it.
100%.
We get
Yeah,
it.
no, we don't want to leave anything that looks like a clear cut fracking, you know, like
Of course. Yeah, yeah.
a horrible
that.
situation.
Yeah.
We want it to look beautiful, and but we were shocked to find ourselves in this position, and I definitely want to fix it fast.
So Kristen, can you, what are our, as a commission, what are our next steps in terms of, you've mentioned like reporting to the state?
I don't know. So if we issue an enforcement order, we have to issue it under either the local ordinance and or the Wetlands Protection Act. And I think this is both.
Mm-hmm.
But we can word it in such a way that says, you know, we want the landowner to provide evidence that, you know, they're gonna, or we want the landowner, I don't know, Jessica can look into this more, but like, you know, cease and desist, you know, stop all work in resource areas and come to the commission by X date to present mitigation ideas or something like that.
Yeah.
It
Hey,
doesn't have to be like super threatening, you know?
Yeah. Can I ask one other question as far as like the jurisdiction area? I mean, I think, Steve, you can correct me, but from the river bank to the end of the road, I think is 170 feet. And to the top of the hill, it's what, Steve? How many feet?
It's a 543-foot path from the start.
So because it leads down to the river, are we like obligated like all the way to the top, or we just have to worry about the bottom?
So the resource area, so the state resource areas are wetlands, and we don't know where the wetlands are. They could be right at the toe of that slope, for all we know. Kind of looked like it was wet to me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And also 200 feet from the I guess the right descending stream bank, or the western stream bank of the Fall River, 200 feet laterally across the landscape from that is a resource area. It's not a buffer zone. It's a resource area. That's under
Okay.
the state regs. Under the
Mhm.
local ordinance, 200 feet from those those lighter blue lines. is
Yep,
Resource area.
okay,
And so, and also like there could be wetlands. So, if you're within basically 200 feet of those light blue lines, and also like if, you know, you're
Yeah.
walking down at the toe of the slope and it feels kind of squishy, it's probably a
yeah,
wetland.
yeah.
100 feet of that.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't want it to be wet and squishy either because I don't want, because I want to be able to walk down there. So I want it to be stable. And I get,
Please don't try to put soil down in a wetland.
no. What I meant was prevent soil.
Actual path. the
Oh, I
actual-
thought you were like, no, I want to be able to make a
No,
path
no,
through
no,
there.
no.
Okay.
No. And in fact, when this whole thing is done, it's not going to be nearly as wide as it is right now. It was just, that was how big his bulldozer was.
Yeah.
But one other question I had back, you were talking about the floodplain. How can we find out if there's a flood, if we're in a flood zone?
Oh, the bordering land subject to flood. So, I think that I closed that out. I don't know. It probably doesn't matter. I mean, just see what Jessica says if she's gonna. She probably already looked into it. I was just bringing it up because that FEMA format is so coarse, and it's from 1980. There are no spatial data for our part of the state. You only get 100-year floodplain spatial mapping for the eastern part of the state. Nobody cares about us west of Worcester.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's even relevant.
Yeah.
So okay, so if the condition is if we order or if we create an order of enforcement, thank you. All day. Then there is a requirement for reporting. Do we feel like we need to create the order of enforcement tonight? Or can we create a little space in order for you to have time to lay down those immediate actions to prevent any further erosion of what is already there?
Right.
Kristen, do we have to do that immediately? Does the commission have any thoughts around the immediacy of that type of an order? It seems to me that the applicants are more than willing to work with us and get this sorted out.
Quickly, couple weeks.
I would like to hear from the other commissioners, because I mean, personally, I would like to issue some kind of a cease and desist with a request for a follow-up, but I feel like I've been taking up a lot of oxygen, so I would love to hear from what the other commissioners have to say.
I don't remember what the specific steps are that are required with an enforcement order, but we've obviously issued a verbal cease and desist, and you folks have come to the meeting. So that's the first step.
That's good.
And then it feels good to have something on record. If there's a standard form, that would be great. And then it's just a pro forma. We're just letting the state know that there has been there has been alteration, and it was done, and you guys stopped when you were notified that it was not appropriate without appropriate permitting and consultation with the Conservation Commission, and the appropriate steps to be taken. So you're doing the right thing. We've had a good conversation tonight. You've got a better idea of what you can do, what will be best for the land, and that's what you want to do. So we've already given you a verbal cease and desist. If we make that in writing, I don't think it really changes anything. There's no black remark that's being put on the record here. It's really just a matter of communication and then making sure that all the parties can come in and help make the situation better.
Yeah, there
So
will no more construction. That's done. Stuff's gone.
Yep.
That's
going to plan, do everything for erosion, the mats, whatever we have to do. We'll shore this up.
great. So it makes sense to me to have the letter maybe notifying you in writing and notifying the state that this situation is going on, and
So,
that we're all going to work together to have you bring, like giving some time frames is also really good too, and making that clear. That way there's no unclarity on your part about what needs to be done and what we're expecting.
so the letter, Emily, thank you for bringing that up. Now that you've said that, I remember that one of the reasons that we went to the extent of the enforcement order with our previous example that we were using earlier was that they were not coming to the meetings and they were not communicating with us.
Right, right.
Since we have open and willing communication and a willingness to work together, then I think that we maybe don't need to quite go to that length at this
Yeah,
point.
we definitely care. I mean, I was shocked when I saw you and Eric coming. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm like, and then the minute you started speaking, I was like, oh my God. So, you know, we apologize for not pulling a permit. We had no idea. All the people we talked to over the past 37 years, no one even talked about it. Even Uncle Bill, the guy that was on the Conservation Commission, he never said, hey, if you want to go down to the river, you got to get permission. We just thought, hey, it's our land, you know, so we're over that. We apologize many times, but from the beginning, though, I always plan on planting trees. If you could have seen it before he started, there was a lot of ugliness in that valley. As a matter of fact, they were using it as a dumping ground in the old days, old washing machines and stuff. Yeah, and it's some of it's still in the valley and the abutting land. So, I mean, we're gonna get that cleaned up too. So we care. We are environmentalists. We didn't demonstrate it by what we did here, but I plan on planting trees. I mean, I had this book in my arsenal at home. A sustainable forest is important because you want to make sure it lives for years to come and be healthy. So when I saw the root ball hole, yeah, I mean, I want to shore it up. So I'm going to get this. I just texted the guy. He gave me a couple of locations to get the rolls. So I'll get that. I'll work with the excavator because he said he could help in the spring. You know, it is a tough time of the year. It's hard as rock.
Yeah.
But we're going to make sure it doesn't wash out. And there are trees, but the trees were like that before we started, the ones up on the rim.
Yeah.
It's amazing how trees get established when you think, what is the depth of the root ball? And as far as the species that we put in, you know, there was red oak, there was white oak, there's beech trees, there's not many birch on that hillside. I didn't see many birch, but we'll follow what the rules are of engagement. If you decide for the square footage of land, how many trees should be planted, obviously where the root balls are, that it's a perfect place to put a tree.
Right.
Because it's already a hole and it should get going pretty quick. You want them to get established.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
watering's the other thing that I already have plans on how to do that.
Okay.
So we'll work with you. But as far as the cease and desist, there's no more equipment. The only equipment we bring in is to deliver the trees or whatever, plant and water.
So it sounds like a letter detailing the things that we've discussed here today is our next step. And then we continue to work together to make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Um,
And when you want to come back and check it out, hey, Steve,
Or
he's
go
got the
fish
trees.
and
in.
Brookies.
He's got the 30 trees
Yep.
and whatever.
Hey, can I just say the letter, because I don't know if that lot is connected to the house across the street. So the address is 588 Lamplack Road for the letter.
okay, thank you.
Because my dad actually lives in Florida, but he has Alzheimer's and he's moving up here. So sending a letter to him is pointless.
Gotcha.
So just send it to 588 Lamplack.
It would
Thank you.
scare the heck out of them.
Right, right,
wa-
which we
wanna
don't.
work with you,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
CI.
Yeah.
You know, you guys, we're the team.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm embarrassed for him to find out it'd be.
I can only imagine as far as in-law relations go, I don't want to do that to you.
And a good member of the family.
Well-
Well, caretaker to the house.
Yeah, that was Steve's plan though, to get it all back to natural before my dad gets here. Oh,
them back at the next meeting and
Yeah, so at the next meeting, we'd want to see evidence of these immediate tactics
Yep.
having been deployed.
Yeah,
Um,
so I'll be invited. Is that the 28th?
that's
Yeah, I'd love to come. That's the view. I mean, it took us
oh, that's pretty-
37 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I can.
It's a
s-
beautiful
It's
river.
gorgeous, yeah. And I mean, Brookies, like, how do you not go get that?
I know. I heard there's eels in that river.
Yeah, I could live without the eels.
Her dad had a friend up in Berniston that had a dam.
Mm.
First started coming to Greenfield, the dam was in place. The guy did not maintain it. And it breached and broke, and the river
Mm.
sent a wall of water down, and it was like claims, insurance claims, because these people did not have flood insurance, but it like washed out. It destroyed a lot of stuff downstream.
Yeah.
But it was a huge dam up by the grain mill
Oh,
in Berniston. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think American eels are listed now under MISA.
Mm.
And just a comment about the springs and the seeps that were pointed out. All of those are really important charging points for the cold water. Like that's part of the reason why the
Yep.
river is listed as a cold water and why it's good habitat for the fish species is exactly that kind of welling up of cold water from the water table.
Thanks for bringing that up, Emily. I don't even remember. Did we talk about the fact that the Fall River is a cold water fisheries resource, so particularly sensitive to thermal loading and sediment inputs?
Wow.
I
Well,
think
make
we
sure-
mentioned it, but that's, exactly why you value it is
Yeah.
why it's so sensitive. Yeah.
Well, in those, that the bottom of the hill and the end of the road will be things that I think that we will address in later meetings and try to,
Mm.
Kristen, you had mentioned, I forget the phrase.
or what? Which part?
Basically, we'll figure out how to deal with that later.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, let's yeah.
Erosion.
First step is erosion control.
Yeah,
We'll
let's
deal with the
immediately
dirt piles
button it up. Work on mitigation later. We'll come up with a plan. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely, yep. Yeah, so on our end, we'll get the letter that we will get to you
Yeah.
and to your wife. And we will see you back here on the 28th
Super.
with
I look forward to working closely with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll get the materials right away.
Cool.
Thanks for coming.
And I'll wrap the banks with it,
Mhm.
put it down.
Yep.
If the ground's frozen and I can't pound the biodegradable, spikes, then we'll
Mm.
figure something out.
Yep, yep.
All right, well.
What
yeah,
about some kind of like your excavator friend probably knows, but like some kind of like a tackifier with a hydro seed mix? I know it's not the growing season, but the tackifier might just stick around long enough to make the seed germinate.
Tackifier?
I'll ask him. He comes
Yeah.
back- He's in Florida. He comes back the first week of February, but I'll
Okay.
get the poles, at least for the side walls of that. I'm gonna call it the path.
Yeah.
Does look like a road. I was amazed. I'm like, oh my God.
Not what I
But he
was-
doesn't have it. He laughs. He doesn't have a 24-inch bulldozer. No, so,
Well, you have my email too.
yeah,
Mhm.
I'll
Be in
communicate
touch.
with you. I'll show you pictures of my progress.
Okay.
I don't want to take any more of your time.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thank you for coming in.
No, I.
And thank you for not laughing at us while we figured all of our technical issues out.
It's introducing to my company. It was a rat's nest every time we had a call. People went on, the screen would go black.
Yeah.
Yeah, oops, this isn't my code.
Oh, this one, I don't know. It would look so cute though.
And it's like, rip the sleeves off. But anyway, it was very nice meeting you. What is your first name again?
Elizabeth,
Elizabeth, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
Yeah,
Jessica.
good to see you.
Sorry for the hassle you created.
Thank you.
I learned a lot about the process. It's very professional.
we got one, not for you, sorry. All right, so let's see, where are we at here? Massachusetts Department of Transportation is planning to make significant investments in electric vehicle charging infrastructure along specified highway corridors in the state. currently in the process of
Citing?
citing, thank you. Like, that word is not jiving with me. Designing and permitting the first phase of locations. Discussed proposed location at the Tourist Information Center and provide feedback on preliminary site selection for planning purposes.
Yeah, so this was a letter that we received in the mail. I can read the letter so you have more of the scope.
I can put it up here too, right? Or do I not? have
Yeah,
that?
it's the clerk to the city council.
I do.
So I'm assuming these EV chargers are in jurisdiction? In Riverfront?
They just, yeah, it is Wheeler Brook. It's outside the 100, is it 100-foot? Buffer
It's
zone.
just in local or?
I put an ArcMap screenshot
Yeah,
in the
that's-
G Drive we can just look at real quick. So this is where they want to put them at the tourist. So it's like way far.
Wait,
away.
it's an existing paved parking lot?
Yeah, they just want to make sure they're covering all the bases,
Mhm.
basically.
Okay,
So
I'm gonna let you read your letter, but I
Yeah.
think this is exempt. Under a minor, if it's even in buffer zone, it might be minor. Is it
It's
even
it's
in
the
buffer
place
zone?
where the DMV is.
Yeah.
That's the tourist center.
yeah, that's the tourist center. They're just like opening it up for comments.
Yeah.
and
Oh.
if there's any concern.
Oh,
they
are
have
they
it
in a
up.
MEPA thing? Are they doing a MEPA review and they have to just notify all agencies?
Let me read the letter.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's kind of what it sounded like, but yeah.
Sorry, my bad.
Planning the subject project.
Okay, the Massachusetts Department of Transportation is planning the subject project to make significant investments in electric vehicle charging infrastructure along specified highway corridors in Massachusetts that will provide a convenient, reliable, and equitable direct current fast charging experience for all users through the federally funded National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program. Currently, Mass DOT is in the process of siting, designing, and permitting the first phase of locations. The implementation of NEVI within Massachusetts also includes contracting with private entities to accomplish the development. A location within Greenfield at the Tourist Information Center located at 18 Minor Street has been selected because it meets the site requirements. In selecting each location, Mass DOT evaluated potential site vulnerabilities such as flooding and sea level rise, but also ensured that the site met applicable federal and state NEVI program requirements. Those specific requirements include the minimization or elimination of gaps greater than 50 miles on selected routes of the electric vehicle alternative fuel corridor network in Massachusetts and compliance with the maximum site distance of 1 mile from the applicable EVAFC. The locus map showing the proposed location is enclosed. Mass DOT Environmental with assistance from AECOM is in the process of evaluating the potential environmental impacts associated with the project. To assist in the evaluation, I'm asking that you notify me of any concerns relative to the project's potential impacts on environmental, social, economic, or cultural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, endangered species, and natural heritage. Deployment is ongoing, but the construction of the first phase is anticipated to begin in 2025. Please feel free to contact me if you have any questions or require further information regarding the project. The letter has been sent to the following Greenfield government employees for coordination. So it went to the mayor, Eric Tuareg, the director of community and economic development, Amy Callahan.
I mean, if it's
Kaylin?
like
Yeah.
lawfully developed parking lot, you know, stuff, I think that it's mostly exempt, even if that isn't priority habitat and buffer zone, I think that it's probably exempt. Whether it's an environmental justice is another issue. I don't know about that. It's outside my wheelhouse, but I don't think we really have jurisdiction over that.
Yeah, it's not priority habitat.
Do you know if it's EJ environmental justice? Just curious. It's not like
I,
it's a
I
huge-
don't ever look at that. I don't know.
It doesn't matter for us for the most part, but I'm just curious now because it's a nightmare when something is in EJ and it's like a very recent thing as of like 2022. But either way, it's so those green lines are those the extent
That's
of
the
our
buffer
jurisdiction.
zone from Wheeler Brook,
Mhm.
and that like hatched gray line is flooding.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
So not our
I
jurisdiction.
believe those green lines are 25 feet increments.
Oh, okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
I messed up, maybe it's 50.
So that doesn't show the 200-foot riverfront for the local.
Yeah, I'm doubting myself. I think it is 200 feet. It's 50-foot increments.
Okay. So do we have to vote or do anything about this, or is it just to like bring it to our attention?
I'm bringing it to your attention to see if there were any comments that you wanted to officially submit.
I guess if we wanted to just say any earth disturbance would be accompanied by best management practices to limit erosion and sedimentation into like, for example, like a silt sack and a city catch basin. I mean, I don't know. I honestly can't think of anything that would, it's not even our jurisdiction. I don't know. Can we even say anything?
I mean, I think my only reservation would be if once it came time to actually do the work, if the engineering showed that the project expanded beyond the scope of the hardtop that's already there,
Hmm.
then I would think that that should come to us, but potentially if it were in the zone, but it seems like there's not a lot of issue given
Could
that.
we say something like, um, if your project is in our jurisdiction, we would expect you to come before us, and we would also expect you to administer best management practices to contain any sediment and erosion control, including in city catch basins? I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean, like,
reaching.
once your project, once the engineering prints have been put together, like, make sure that your project doesn't stray into the resource area or the buffer zone. Right?
Cool. Like it.
Come to us with an RDA
Yeah.
when the time comes to, but otherwise there's no issue.
I think
Yeah?
that, yeah, I think you're right. I think this isn't really, yeah.
Right
Okay,
on.
great.
Okay, so if, and Erica, Emily, are you copacetic with all of that?
I assumed they were gonna do it on the blacktop, I mean, in the parking spaces for the cars, I mean. So,
Yeah, I mean, when Big Y put in theirs, there was no like fuss or muss.
mm.
So I would imagine it would be a fairly relatively low impact. Cool. Then we are at the time of the evening where any topics not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the posting of this agenda may be brought to the table.
Oh shoot, my video's off. I'm so sorry, guys. I just noticed that. I'm sorry. Tired. It's been a long day.
Okay. Well, in that case, do we want to go ahead and stop recording or do we have to end
So I,
official? Oh,
the
you got
old
something?
business,
Uh-huh.
I went back to the Mill Street Dam where they fixed the compromised dam
Okay.
because they completed it
Mhm.
and just went to see, and I checked and everything looks really good. They had put down some straw where there would be a lot of foot traffic. It looked nice and cleaned up. There wasn't anything alarming, or even like besides the straw, you didn't even tell anything
Okay.
happened. So, yeah, I just wanted to follow up on that since that is now complete.
Great.
Actually, I remember, I think one of your emails said that you're gonna maybe just check all these again. Did you happen to check
Mm.
by them and make sure they?
Yeah, I thought I sent, did I not send pictures? Yeah, I sent those pictures that, they had like driven over the, silt fencing and just.
That site has been,
Oh,
I do remember you because
Yeah.
I commented then too. I was like,
Yeah.
what is wrong? Like, why do these people keep doing this?
Yeah. But they were like putting in, I think they were putting in like, it looked like they were putting in the stormwater, like retention tank thing that was part of their plans. And, yeah, I don't know. We did talk about, just that it was like a lesson learned kind of thing. And next time hiring a third party that would be in charge of like erosion control checks and keep, you know,
Yeah, like that applicant was saying tonight for that solar project.
yeah, just keeping that. Yeah, exactly.
My
Right.
coworkers.
Uh-huh. So that's kind of where that's at. I don't even think that, like, I've said something to them multiple times. I don't really think they're like, okay. And then I leave and
And they don't
That's
care.
that, yeah.
Yes, that seems to have been the tone from that sector the whole time.
yeah.
At one point, they were on the call and they said, oh yeah, we've totally covered those things. And then the following Sunday, I went to the grocery store and they were uncovered.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that there's anything that we could do or anything worth doing at this point, but I think that's, you know, like you said, lessons learned in the future, something that as a commission, we should probably be more firm, I guess, about.
So that was, yeah, that was the,
Well, it's nice that that dam came out nicely, though. All right. So,
can stop it.
Yep.
We're there.
I think we are there.
Okay.
Just a further comment, we are tomorrow meeting at, three of us, Emily,
Oh.
right?
Yep. At the landowner
Myself, and then, yep, and then, Jessica and Eric, what time is that again?
and the mayor.
And the mayor.
It's at 11, I believe.
Okay. And we'll meet, at Shelburne on that
Yeah.
Shelburne
so-
Summit Road.
Yeah, so not Shelburne Road.
Mhm.
That is a huge, like, steep embankment. You can't access the property, so you have to go far up Route 2, turn on Shelburne Summit Drive, and then take a left up the like private drive, which is private to the landowners that are back there. So
Okay, so
it's
that
a-
driveway
it
is
is
there.
It's a right of way.
Okay.
It's someone's actual driveway too, but not really until there's a switchback once you go up the hill, it switchbacks to the private property.
Gotcha.
But at the top of the hill, there's this grassy kind of frozen area that I parked, and I think there's room for 3-ish cars up there that, yeah, I think we should all meet up there. It's a very steep hill up to that point, and
Okay.
hiking up it will be tough. So.
Not ideal. Okay, fair enough. So I assume you and Eric would be in.
Yeah, we're gonna
and probably with
carpool.
the mayor?
Yeah, we would probably meet her at the city hall and have her follow us.
Okay.
So that would be 2 cars. And
Mhm.
so, I don't know, I think maybe we could squeeze 4.
Well, one of us could park, on Shelburne Summit Road and then just hop into somebody else, you
Yeah.
know, like squeeze in real tight
Yeah.
and get up the driveway.
Yeah,
Because Shelburne Summit Road is, there's plenty of spaces. There's a bus that my kids used to get off the bus there, and there's a whole ton
Yeah.
of space on the side of the road to park
Okay.
on. So that shouldn't be an issue. But yeah, so we'll meet if we have to, we'll leave 1 car there and then drive the other 3 up or whatever.
so double check that. I just want to double check my calendar that I gave you guys. The correct time.
I got 11:30 in mine, but I don't know that that's. that's not
Let me
nec-
just double check. I've got it. With the load. 11:30.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so 11:30 Shelburne Summit Road. Cool.
Okay, let me stop the recording.